Welcome to the F3 podcast, where we discuss all things that pertain to faith, family, and finances. And remember, no subject is off limits. We are your hosts today. I am Dr. Lionel M. Blair Sr., and I'm sitting next to the glorious, the wonderful. I get the warm and fuzzies every time I say it. The glorious, the wonderful, the magnificent, the delicious. She is the sainted mother.
Oh my goodness.
The sainted mother.
Oh my God.
She is Saint Jasmine the First. Dr. Jasmine Blair, we got a good one for you today, as always.
Welcome everybody to the F3 podcast. Shout out to everybody that is viewing, everybody that's catching us, streaming, everybody that's listening to the replay, however, wherever you're listening. Listen, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the little notification bell in the corner so you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode. And remember, no subject is off limits because we will talk about what your pastor wants. So we got a very interesting topic today.
Yeah.
And this is going to be good, but let me give this disclaimer. I want to not so much focus on the information, but the broader subject at large.
Yeah.
So today we're going to jump right into it when entertainers become preachers. Now, we've seen this trend many times before.
Yeah.
We've seen rappers, we've seen R&B singers, we've seen actors, join these big churches. We've seen comedians join these big churches and become somebody's minister, become somebody's elder, begin to preach in the church. We've seen this over the years, many times, especially in the Black and brown community. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Some of our favorite childhood stars have, now they're ministers and pastors in people's churches. And it's like, oh, well, you played on this show, or you played in that movie, or you did this series. So it's not uncommon for somebody that is in the entertainment world, especially when they start off as a childhood star or like a teenage star, to at some point transition over and give their life to Christ. All right. That is a noticeable thing. That is a normal thing. Some of y'all have had a worldly life before you decided you want to give your life over to Christ. So it's a beautiful thing. But it is, for me, it's the context and the quality of that transformation that I question. It is my opinion that when these transitions are not properly guided, because a lot of times from what I have seen, people like to cater around somebody because of their secular fame, because of their secular finances. And so they gravitate to some big name preacher. They tend to coddle them and, oh, well, they going to be mentored by me, but you're not really mentoring them. And the fruit of it is always on the other end. Do they stay in that ministry? Do they go on to start their own ministry? Do they go up to head on a department? Or do they end up leaving and going back out in the world and do the same thing?
Right.
We've seen some people in and out the church 4 or 5 times over the course of their career. So yes, people fall, people slip, people have seasons where they don't stay. But my point is, if your transformation is legitimately genuine, most people are not going to go back and forth that many times.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't fall and get up, but there's a difference between you falling, getting up, and you just won't even really trying right in the first place, or you were not guided right and plugged in and discipled right, which played a role in your going through the revolving door in the lobby. So what's your take on this subject overall? The idea of secular entertainers, going into church and becoming preachers or being a member of somebody's church. What's your take on that?
I'm all for it if the conversion is genuine.
Number one.
And there's been a genuine process of discipleship. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of these entertainers, they almost get a pass because of their fame. It's like, okay, when did your favorite entertainer who got saved and now in ministry, when was the last time they went through a new members class? Have they ever served as a deacon?
Come on.
Okay.
Ooh, that's good.
Come on now. Have they ever served as a deacon? Have they ever served as an elder? Okay. Do they know what it's like to serve? Because we're giving them a pass because of their celebrity status. So we're
That.
fast tracking these people,
That.
and their character has not been developed for certain things. And this is why many times when they become a pastor, people gonna follow you because you're famous.
Yeah.
Okay. People are going to follow you because you already came to the church, came to the body of Christ, came into the things of God with a level of secular faith.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing necessarily wrong with that, right? It becomes wrong when you get to bypass certain processes that people like myself and so many others have had to go through
Mm-hmm.
because you are a celebrity. And I find that too, a lot of these celebrities don't want to serve.
That.
You know, it reminds me of the rich young ruler. Jesus said it's hard for a rich man to enter to the kingdom.
Yes,
He didn't
it
say
is.
it was impossible. He said it's hard.
It's hard.
Why? Because there's certain things that they're not gonna want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus told the rich young ruler, he said, listen, he told the rich young ruler, he said, he didn't say give away all your money.
Mm-hmm.
He said he hit him where his pride was at.
Uh-huh.
He hit him where with what his money was able to buy. That was where his pride was at.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, go sell everything that you have and give it to the poor. You know, and then you will have riches in heaven. Then you can follow me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says that he walked away sad.
Wow.
He walked away sad because he had many possessions. His pride was in his possessions.
Mm-hmm.
The 12 were rich men. Okay. You know, the disciples that Jesus chose were very wealthy men. So it's possible for entertainers and people who are wealthy like that, okay, to be saved. But these 12 men submitted to being discipled.
That's good.
And see, a lot of these people, they're not pastored long enough to lead anybody. Okay. And see, this is why I don't congratulate a lot of these people because, and you know, of course, you got all the carnal Christians. Congratulations to so and so, even some of these gospel singers.
Yeah.
You know, congratulations to so and so on becoming a pastor, and then you know somebody like me says this is a disaster waiting to happen. You know, because I can see the unprocessed nature,
right?
Okay, of the person. Oh, you judging? If God has called them to do it, let them do it. No, ministry is sacred. It's not. Honestly, it should be something that should be safeguarded. It should be hard for you to enter into ministry. Okay, because if you're genuinely called to it, you go through the processes to enter into it the right way.
It's like I said the other day on social media that there's a difference between those who have truly been mentored by mentors and leaders and have applied the feedback, and those just doing what God called them to do. And you can tell they have no training. There's no voice in their ear that they revere. Nobody that's helping them to refine their message and their presentation, not to take away from who they are, but to show their spiritual growth and maturity. Just because you're called to do something don't mean you just get up and do it with a lack of guidance and tutelage and studying to show yourself approved. Now, I understand that process looks different for everybody, but the truth is always in the fruit. The truth is always in the fruit. It brings me back to that show that was on the internet years and years ago, and there was this woman, and you know, she had a certain appearance. It's like, oh well, I'm gonna be a pastor. It's just like, no, she don't need to be a pastor. She's not. Why are you judging her? A couple years later, she back out passing out cigarettes to people. Now she not in church no more. She done been on the internet drunk and all these different things, cussing folks out, exposing herself. And again, I would never down somebody for going through a rough season, an ugly chapter in their story, right? There's a such thing as falling and getting back up. But the point that I'm making is if somebody in multiple somebodies would have read the writing on the wall in the beginning and said, okay, this person needs more processing and training and development before we put them out there to pastor a whole church. That whole ugly chapter that was on the internet, unfortunately, would have never occurred, or it would have been greatly mitigated. The likelihood would have been greatly reduced.
She actually got rebaptized recently.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I'm glad she did.
So you went from being a whole pastor to needing to be rebaptized again, because you didn't backslid so far, and notice this person's a gospel artist, and the church is still inviting them.
That part.
Church is still inviting
That's
them.
a whole different episode.
And I understand that's your money, that's your source, of income. But at what point do someone care for your soul enough to sit you down and say, "Hey, you are on a self-destructive path"?
Yeah.
And me aiding you in more exposure is only hurting you in the long run.
That
I can't participate in it, but I will be here if you ever need help.
Yeah.
Further help.
And so that was the reality of that situation, and it was people like me. I'm like, okay, I said this from the beginning. Y'all said I was judging this person. Y'all said I wasn't being gracious. Look what happened. This is what I saw. Do we not see it coming to pass? Well, I mean, no, it is what it is. We loving somebody enough to know it's not their time or their season, or they're not ready yet. They need a little more training. They need a little more deliverance. They need a little bit more processing to form Christ's character in them first before they go out and pastor a church is a healthy thing to do. And we've come to a point today where it's almost offensive to hold people to biblical discipleship and development. It's really, really sad.
See, we're not talking about church membership here,
right?
You understand what I'm saying? We are not talking about church membership here. We are talking about ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about preaching, pastoring. You understand what I'm saying?
Leading other believers,
other people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we're talking about. Regardless of whatever lifestyle you choose to live, you should be welcomed in the church. But when it comes to preaching,
mm-hmm.
when it comes to leading in the church, okay, listen, you got to fit a certain standard, and you got to go through a certain process. And I'm tired of seeing these people be promoted because they celebrities. Most of them don't really stick with God like that.
And you made a valuable point. They're promoted because they're celebrities. They're fast-tracked because they were celebrities. If they were just a regular person, would they have gone through that same process? In many cases, probably not. And that is something that we really need to look for and address, because in many cases, it's just not happening like that. We've got to love people enough to say, that's great that you're famous. That's great that you're wealthy. But I need to make sure you are processed, your soul is developed, that you become a disciple before you start leading other people. Now, you can join anybody's church at any phase in your walk, if you will, that you're in. You don't have to be all cleaned up to be a part. Sometimes God clean you up when you commit to the process. But we're talking about pastoring people. And so we've seen this before, and these people go back and forth, and it does not work a lot of times. And we've seen artists say, "Oh, I'm gonna stop doing this. I'm gonna stop doing this." Entertainers, I'm gonna stop doing that, and they go right back to doing it a couple years later. Why? Because something in their transformation process, something in their discipleship process, was not complete enough for them to make peace and close that chapter in their life and turn away from it entirely to move forward with what God have called them to do. So, which brings us to the point today. There's a video that's going around social media, and if you look it up, I'm sure you will find it. It shouldn't take you too long to find it, because it didn't take me too long to find it when I heard about it. But there is a artist that is now getting ready to start a church. Now, again, let me be clear. God bless you. I think it's great that you want to answer your call. But again, we're talking about the context and how people go about starting things. I don't think it's a bad thing when a secular entertainer or a secular public figure decides, I want to start a church. The concern that I have as a preacher is, what is your development process like? First of all, what is your why? Some of the things that I heard were along the lines of, this is something I've been wanting to do. I was scared. I thought about it. I guess for me, I didn't actually hear God told me to.
Right.
First and foremost, regardless of who you are, nobody should be starting a church because they want to or they've been wanting to. Mm-hmm. You could have been raised in church your whole life. Trust me, this is not something anybody should be doing just because you want to. It's not. It's a thankless job. While there are some pros to it, it definitely comes with a lot of stress and a lot of extra, even when you do it right. So this isn't something anybody should be doing just because that they want to. I think the why for anything is important, because that why is going to be what holds you to what you're doing, even in those hard times, even when the stress comes, even when you're faced with the adversity of leadership. It really makes a difference. So that's the first thing, is the why. The second thing for me is the discipleship in the process. Now, again, it was not said, so I don't know. I can't really speculate. But it was said, I've been wanting to start a church. So I don't know if they're going to be starting the church, but it's going to be like a team of pastors there, or somebody else going to be running it. It didn't sound like it. It wasn't confirmed or denied. So I don't know.
I'll come to hear her talk.
So if it was not confirmed or denied, I mean, obviously somebody will be helping and volunteering at some point. But it's like, if you're going to be the main spiritual influence, or the main spiritual advisor, or pastor, preacher, counsel at this ministry, what has your training been? What has your discipleship been for yourself? And again, I'm not saying anybody has to be 100% arrived and have to have a PhD to pastor a church. But if there isn't the basic training of pastoral leadership, pastoral counseling, meeting the needs of the people, what is there? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where's the spiritual substance that the people are going to hold on to, is my concern.
Right.
Now, again, it's still early, so I don't know. I haven't seen the website yet. I haven't seen a mission or vision statement. I don't know, but my antennas are going off. This is me. I'm not going to lie. Oh God, no, this is me. I'm concerned. And the other thing that concerned me was the defensiveness in the presentation of the video. These are the things were said, and I'm paraphrasing. This was what I wanted to do. And then at some point it switched over to, I'm tired of people judging people. And I get it when you're trying to find your words and you're trying to articulate yourself, right? Everybody doesn't have to have a PhD in public relations. But when you get mad and you start dropping racial slurs, and you start dropping words that, I could never say on this platform, and your defense of why you're starting a church, that raises even more red flags. Like, if you got to be mad enough to cuss people out to defend why you want to start a church, you might not be ready yet. You might just want to hold on, just give about 6 to 9 more months, maybe. Again, emotional intelligence is a big thing for any and everybody. I am, I'm big on leadership. I'm big on integrity. I'm big on ethics and morality. And it's not just what you say, but how you say it. If for anybody, whether it's this individual or anybody that's watching me, if you're a preacher, if you desire to become a preacher, you in the process, if you cannot get your point across without cussing or calling people any type of racial slur, you might not be ready yet. I understand a situation where you're provoked. It's still not right, but I understand being provoked. This person, to my knowledge, from what it appeared, was either at home or in a hotel room or somewhere where they were on a video. So nobody was physically in their face threatening them, provoking them. If you cannot get your point across without calling other people out your name, you might not be ready to pastor yet.
And then
because people will push you to that point. So if you already can't get your point across without calling people out their name, you might want to wait. Go ahead.
And then this individual had the nerve to pretty much alluded to having an inclusionist church, because they were saying, rather you this or that in the alphabetical community,
community.
Whether you this, we all God's children, in which we.
That's another episode.
I don't got too much time to disprove that theologically. We all were made by God. All right, but that don't mean we're all children of God.
No.
Because anyway, so she alluded to having an inclusionist church as well. So more of them kind of churches are starting to pop up, or more of them people coming out the closet now. They're coming out of their inclusionist closet. But the point is that it is evident in the language,
Mm-hmm.
in the presentation. If I didn't know that this person was a secular artist, I can still see the lack of spiritual maturity.
And it was mentioned in the video, I'm still going to be doing this. I'm still going to be doing that. Who said I'm sinning? Who said God can't use it? First of all, nobody, because this person, again, is just on the internet and they're talking.
Yeah.
And again, we're not super religious. If you are new here, you might not know, but go back and watch it. We're not super religious about what you need to do and how you need to try to fit a false mold. But
Right.
at the same time, if you haven't even started the church yet and you already saying, I'm still going to do this, where is the evidence of your transformation?
Right.
Not saying you can't enjoy life, right? Not saying you can't be an adult and enjoy certain environments or enjoy nice things. But if you already are defending the things that you do before you even open the doors to the church, is your transformation evident? That's a rhetorical question. I don't know the answer. That's between them and God. But again, just the way that was presented, it concerns me. And again, I'm not religious. I've told my story many times. I didn't grow up in church, and I'm glad that I didn't. Because with a lot of things, it gives me a different worldview. But I'm just like, okay, no, nobody said that. So why are you? I'm still gonna be doing. Who said I'm gonna be? And again, I don't know if there were comments being read, but it's just again the anger, the calling people out their name, even though it wasn't a specific person. The fact that the point could not be gotten across without words that could not be said on the radio or television means that there's a disconnect somewhere with emotional maturity, in my opinion. And so my prayer is that if this is sincere, that they get some true counsel, they get some good mentorship around them, somebody that's going to help polish them and mature them while they go on this endeavor. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to see anybody fail. Especially if you say you want to do something for God, whether you want to or He told you to, right? If you're going to be representing the kingdom, it should be done in decency and order. So my first prayer is that there's some kind of mentorship, there's some kind of guidance. It was mentioned that they were connected to somebody. Again, as preachers, we know somebody being connected to you and somebody being a good student and disciple is two very different things.
Brother, two different things.
Two very different things. So, and my prayer is that whatever's there, whatever point is trying to be proved, that is removed. That Christ is really preaching, that people's lives are changed for the better, and people don't come in a place that makes them stuck, stagnant, and complacent, and lack spiritual growth and maturity.
That church ain't gonna last long. That church ain't gonna last long. It's gonna flop like the other ladies' church. Even if it take a few years, even if it takes several years, that church ain't gonna last long. It's not because once the star power is gone and people
try to be optimistic.
Once that star power is gone and people become familiar with your character,
yeah,
your unprocessed character,
mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna last long.
Again, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be optimistic, but we finna see. All we can do is watch and pray. So listen, tell us down in the comments what you think. What's your opinion? If you saw the video, if you heard about it, tell us what your honest opinion is on it, what you think, and if you've gone to a celebrity church before, what has that experience been like for you? We definitely want to hear from you. Any closing remarks that you got before we get out of here?
Being famous don't make you do not give you rank in the kingdom.
And being famous don't make you anointed, actually. Doesn't make you less anointed, but you don't automatically have rank and status and anointing because of who you are out there. And I think for me, that's one of my biggest gripes when you have celebrities transition over to the Christian world, to the church world, to the kingdom world, as some people refer to it. Because it's like, okay, I was, A-list celebrity, B-list celebrity, C-list celebrity, whatever you were. And there's this mindset that I'm about to come over here and be the same thing. And who gonna check me, boo? Like, okay, you still new here. Let's have some humility for the ones that have paved the path before you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that's my concern. It's the nastiness and the disregard and disrespect for the pastors and the bishops and the leaders who have been doing this thing for a long time. All of a sudden, I can check anybody and can't nobody tell me nothing because of what my bank account says, and that's just not it.
Yeah.
That's not it. And if we're going to be reading the Bible correctly, you're not supposed to be a respecter of persons in that term.
That's right.
So you shouldn't be fast tracking somebody because they're a C-list celebrity and they have an ability to sow $1 million tie. You're not supposed to be doing that.
And I understand busy schedules and all that, but they need to serve in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. You know, these people have never served as anything, but they're being promoted because they have money, they have status, you know, and you know, now I do want to say this too. There are some gospel artists who've turned out to actually be good pastors.
Yes.
You know, decent pastors. I think with Travis Green, Ty Tribbett, a lot of these guys are Hezekiah Walker. He's a bishop. You know, a lot of these guys, Paul Morton, a lot of these guys are actually great leaders in the body of Christ. All right. A lot of these guys are great leaders in the church. Some of them are bishops, some of them are just pastors, you know, but they're great leaders, and learn from them.
Yeah.
Those are the people you need to learn from, you know, not these people that's going to fast track you. You know, or you feel like you an artist, so you got the star power just to go start a church. And who's your accountability? Who consecrated you as a pastor? Where did you get your license from? That's what I want to know. I want to know who consecrated them. Okay, probably somebody that's desperate. Probably somebody that they either paid or they probably got their credentials off the internet some darn way.
Anyway. Or they just started that. See, let me hush. Okay, so listen, we're gonna get out of here, but y'all, we praying. We love y'all. Tell us what you think in the comments. Be sure to follow us over on IG at King and Queen Blair. And until next time on the F3 Podcast.